All right, guys, so hey, today, what we want to cover today is pricing. This is always one of the most important questions that comes up. It's a question we get all the time. How should I set my pricing? I'm new in business. I've been in business. You know, how do we get our pricing set right? So what a lot of people think is they're going to do it in just like an even curve. So they're going to have, just imagine a straight curve, a straight line, diagonal line or whatever, and all the price points be even. So for example, they start out at a minimum of 100. They have a quarter load 150, half load 200, three-quarter 250, full load 300, and so forth. That's incorrect because there's a lot of factors that go into setting those price points as to why an even curve is incorrect, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so before we get into the exact reasons on why an even straight curve is incorrect, let's cover what are some ways you can figure out at least a starting point of what your pricing is going to be. You're brand new to the market, you've never been in operation, you don't know what your expense percentages are going to be, so you will know, hey, how do we start? And one of the obvious things is checking competitors' pricing. So if you're in a market where all your major franchises are, Got Junk, Junk King, College Hunks, you know, and then some of the other umpteen dozen franchises out there, you can always either call or check pricing to see what they're charging. Now, Got Junk used to show pricing, they no longer do. So you actually have to call them up, give them a zip code in your area, to say you're looking to move somebody out. You're helping, or you're moving out, you're trying to get rid of stuff, you need to know how they charge. That'll give you a good idea of pricing. Now, what they're not going to do is they're not going to walk you through each individual price point. You're going to get a minimum, you're going to get a maximum, and you maybe get a price two in between, and that's all you're going to get. So with that'll give you a good starting point. Junk King is a good one to actually get on their website because they actually have a pricing estimator on the site, and they can provide you with some roundabout pricing. Of the franchises, Junk King is one of the cheapest priced franchises out there. You could very well, we're more expensive than Junk King. You could very well be more expensive than Junk King. Some of your other local competitors, it's always good to get their pricing as well to understand how they're pricing in comparison to a franchise. Since you're a local company, you're going to, you know, they're all direct competitors, but you know, you're really competing really heavily against your locally owned companies. So it's nice knowing that pricing as well. Okay, so you've gone through your competitors, you've figured out pricing and all of some of your competition. Now, some of the things you have to remember that's going to affect your pricing. And if you've checked your competitors, they factored it in. But there's some reasons that certain areas are much more expensive than other areas. For example, here in North Carolina, the Raleigh area, we are cheaper, or actually North Carolina, we have 3 locations in North Carolina. Our Raleigh and Charlotte location are more expensive than our Greensboro location. It's not as expensive to operate in Greensboro. There's less traffic. So it's easier to get around. That means you're not paying as much for drive time. Disposal fees are cheaper. Gas is a little bit less. And labor costs are actually a bit cheaper in the Greensboro market. So we're actually able to be at about a 420 full load in Greensboro, whereas we're at a 490 full load in Raleigh. And then if you compare that, North Carolina to like New York to up north, a full load rate of the size truck that we're charging $490 for here is going to be about $700 in New York. Why is that? Because they're paying a $150 disposal fee to dump, and a lot of times with a 2-ton minimum. So your $300 disposal fee right off there just to go and dump sometimes, depending on the area. The other thing is in New York, especially in New York City, I'm talking about New York City, not New York State. In New York City, you've got a lot of tall buildings. And even if you're going to be on an elevator, even if you aren't having to physically walk up and down stairs, riding that elevator up and down, that's time. That's got to be factored in. Obviously, it's more expensive as far as labor up there. You're in a heck of a lot of traffic. You've got to pay for parking. There's just a tremendous amount more expense in the New York market. Obviously, though, part of the offset is people in New York City make quite a bit more than people in North Carolina. Adjusted for cost of living, not so much, but you know, as far as total cost, the expenses are higher for your junk removal business, but the people are making more money, which helps offset it. So always keep in mind, what are just some costs that are different about your market? When you're comparing multiple markets, if you're looking at junk doctors pricing, if you're looking at pricing throughout the country, what's different about your market, and you need to adjust your pricing accordingly. Okay, so what does it cost you to get on site? So what are your fixed costs just to get on location? So what you got to think about is, all right, if you got two guys in the truck, even if it's you, if you yourself are one of those people, you need to count paying yourself because you need to earn money for the labor you're providing. So what's the cost to get two people on site? Just drive time. Let's say each of you average, it's a 30-minute drive to each of your average stops. Probably not quite that long, but let's keep it simple. It's a 30-minute drive to each of your stops. You've got two truck team members. You're paying them $12 an hour on average, but then you've got workers' comp costs. So you got to factor in workers' comp. You got your half of Medicare, your half of Social Security. It's probably going to cost you $16 an hour per person. So you got $32 total for an hour. Obviously, you divide that in half, you're back at $16. So you're somewhere around $16 drive time to get there. And then you've got fuel, it's probably somewhere around maybe $10 in fuel. So you have $26 to get on site. You got wear and tear on that vehicle. It's probably costing you 75 cents to $1 per mile to roll that truck down the road, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. So let's say if you traveled 15 miles, you're probably another $10 there. So what's that? You're at $36 in expense right there. And you figure just kind of other miscellaneous expenses. You had some advertising costs to get that particular customer and a few other odds and ends. Once you factor in all of your expenses that relates to you getting that job, you're probably going to be somewhere around $70 to actually just get a truck on site. So don't set your minimum price too low because generally you're going to make very, very little money on a minimum load job. Okay, guys, so we're back now. We're talking about this even curve. So you got this even curve going on, but the problem is you need to recoup. You need to make money on these smaller size jobs. And if you do an even curve, you're not going to make as much money on the smaller size jobs as you need to. Your price per cubic yard needs to go down as you get larger. Why is that? Because you have those fixed costs to get out there. Again, somewhere around $70 to get your truck on site. Before you've even done anything, it's cost you around $70 between acquiring that customer and all the expenses we just talked about. So you're going to start somewhere at around $95. And on a $95 job, you might make $20. And generally, we consider a minimum load to be like a single item. Like you're going and picking up a washer machine. You're going and picking up a fridge, something like that. That's going to be a minimum load. Anything larger, we're charging more. And that doesn't, like a couch. If we go and pick up a couch, we charge $120 for a couch. That's not even a minimum load. We'll do $95 for a love seat, but $120 for a couch. And then you're going to work your way up some to, you've got an eighth of a load, sixth of a load, quarter, work its way up to a full. So our quarter load price, our full load is $4.90. Our quarter load price is $2.05. $2.05 for a quarter. Our half load price is $3.30 and our full is $4.90. The percentage breakdown on that, so on a 1 quarter load, they're paying 42% of the full load rate of $4.90. 1 half load, they're at 67% of the full load rate. 3 quarter load, they're paying 85% of the full load rate. So as you can see, it's not an even curve. That way you've got profit built in on your smaller load jobs where you're having to make up for those fixed costs for actually getting on site. The other thing to consider here, guys, the size of your truck. Obviously, the bigger the truck, the larger the truck, the more expensive each of your price points should be. Junk King is one of their selling points is we're larger, so our price per cubic yard is less, so you actually are paying less for us. The issue is, since they are larger, when customers are just looking at price points, they're going to see, whereas Junk Doctors is a full load rate of $4.90 for 15 cubic yards, and then they're like a full load rate of like $5.30 for 18 or 20 yards. I should know this. I think they're 18. They might be 20. But they are more, or they are less price per cubic yard than Junk Doctors. But we've got we're below $500. So we've got that middle thing. We're beneath $500 on total cost. A lot of customers don't think about the truck size. They can't picture it in their head. It just doesn't enter their mind. They're not in that line of work. They're just comparing the price points or the minimum and maximum, not even all the price points, the minimum and maximum. And that's a lot of times all they'll look at. If you get somebody price shopping and you have a smaller truck, you very well could have an advantage over a lot of customers because your total rate, even though your price per cubic yard is higher, your total rate is less. Okay, so now that you're loaded with all that ammunition, you have all that knowledge right there on how to go out and set pricing. Now it's time to actually do it. So get your initial pricing set. It's basically a best guess, guys. So you're going to look at everything we just talked about and set your initial price points. If you want to use the junk doctor's percentages, go for it. If you have a $600 full load, then set your half load rate at 67% of $600. You can simply take those price points all the way down, times it by take the percentage, times it by 600, and roll with that price. And that could very well be a good price to roll off of course, depending on your location. You get those initial price points set, then you need to really, really track your expenses over the first week, 2 weeks of operation. So keep up on your bookkeeping, get all of your expenses, all of your income added in. Make sure you're entering all your disposal receipts that you're getting from the landfill. And after a week or 2 weeks, you need to look at your percentages. You ought to see disposal fees somewhere around 9%, 8-9%. If it's inched up till 10, you're getting a little on the high end. Your labor cost needs to be somewhere around 25%, non-management, just on the truck, 25, 26, 27%, somewhere in there. Your advertising cost, depending on the stage of business you're in, if you're just starting, your advertising, you're going to want to see 25%, 30%, somewhere in there, pretty high. But your fuel costs, you're going to want to see around 7%. Watch out for these fuel costs, guys. They're inching up, so that very well means we all might need to raise our prices up. So there are certain percentages that we're looking for out of all of our jobs. And if all of a sudden you see your expense percentages are higher than they need to be, and you've been on the truck, you've been watching, making sure expense hasn't been wasted, you're going to need to inch those prices up until you can get to the expense percentage you need. Okay, so that's kind of a way to get your pricing set right there. When we get a company that's working with us in another market, they bought a JRA business package or something like that, and we're getting them set up. That's what we're looking for. That's our exact formula for helping them set their pricing right there. Hopefully it's helpful to everybody. Do want to remind everybody we do have a brand new pay-per-job program that has gone out where we take all the risk. We put a website up for you in your market, your logo and everything hosted on a junk doctor site. We run and pay Google for you. We run Google AdWords. We're the ones paying Google. And we run search engine optimization on that page. You don't pay for either one of those things directly. What you pay for is every job we bring you. And our call center will book the jobs. No extra administrative effort on your part. All you simply do is get the income. We do all the work. We take on all the risk. If it doesn't perform, we're the ones losing money. As far as y'all are concerned, if it doesn't perform, you're not getting the job, but you're not paying for them. You only pay for what you get. Flat rate, $100 per job. Visit junkremovalauthority.com. You can check out the pay-per-job page on there for more information. Also, there's a very informative blog post on that site as well. Go to articles, and you can read about, even if you're paying $100 per job, you can still be profitable and still be very profitable while adding 35, 50 jobs plus per month. Enjoyed it, everybody. Hope this pricing video was helpful. We'll be back before you know it.